Hey, Chris, it's been a while since I've done a video. All right, let's see what we can do. We got for math something new. So they're saying here, they're going to start teaching you how to compare fractions, which one is bigger. So if they have the same bottoms, so they have the same number of cuts, you'll be able to know which one's bigger. 3 pieces out of 7 cuts is going to be bigger than 2 pieces out of 7 cuts, right? The problem comes if they have different bottoms. Then how do you know? It's going to be harder to figure out. So you want to be able to compare the same. 9 cuts versus 3 cuts is too hard to compare. So you got to think, okay, can I make this 9 a 3 instead? So how you do that is, what can go both in the 3 and the 9 like we've been doing? Well, if 3, in this case, 3 can go into both. So 3 divided by 3. So how many times does 3 go into 3? 1. How many times does 3 go into 9? 3. Now the bottom's the same. Now I can compare this one, even though this had 9 pieces before and it seemed like it'd be bigger. This one is bigger than this one now that we have the same bottoms. So you can only compare if the bottoms are the same. Okay? So today's lesson, first, here's the reduce. You have to start learning the word reduce. Reduce means make this fraction smaller. So 6 and 18. So just like we learned, we take this and we decide if we start at the lowest number, not the highest number, the lowest number, and say, is there a 6 and an 18 in 6? 6, 18. Uh-oh, look at that. So we now know 6 can go into 6 and 18. So we're going to divide by 6. 6 goes into 6 how many times? 6 goes into 18 when you look. 6 goes into 18 3 times. So that can go down to 1/3. That's the answer to this. Now, this is not on yours. I gave you something else. Now here, this is going to be our practice. So when you get to it, so in your page, you are going to have something like that. Look, if we divided the top and bottom of 10/12 by 2, what would we get? You know how to do that. You have to divide them both by 2. You do that. I want you trying. Now I'm going to show you how to do this. Well, they both have 6s. Since they both have 6s, we can compare. Which one is bigger, 1 or 5? 5, because they both have the same bottoms. Uh-oh, but they don't have the same bottoms. But it looks like they're going to let you be able to reduce. What does 4 and 14 have in common? Let's take a look. 4 and 14. We're going to look at this. We're going to go to the 4. Does it have a 4 and a 14 in it? No. Does this one have a 4 and a 14 in it? No. Does this one have a 4 and a 14? Yes. 2 can go into both of them. Since 2 can go into both of them, I'm going to divide by 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 14 7 times. So now that is 2/7. And this was 3/7. Now this one is 2/7. And now we know this one's bigger. See how that worked? You following me? You can always rewind this and look at it again and again until you figure it out, okay? This is not in your lesson, but something like it is going to be in your lesson. Right on your second page, look. 5/15. They want you to reduce it. 5/15 means go look over here, start at the 5, and see if 5 has 5 and 15. If it does, you're going to divide it by the number that they can both go into, 5 and 8. We're going to go to the 5, see if it has a 5 and an 8 in it. Nope. 4, does that have 5 and 8? Nope. 3, 5 and 8? Nope. 2, 5 and 8? Nope. So that means don't ever worry about 1. That means that can't be reduced. That has to stay. But then we have these. Uh-oh. So 5s have the same bottoms. You'll be able to do that one. 12 and 4 don't have the same bottoms. We have to take that 12 and make it smaller by taking the 3 and the 12 and say what goes into 3 and 12. You go to the smallest number, 3, and see if it has a 3 and a 12. If it does, That means you can divide it by 3. And then you'll be able to compare. 3 and 6 don't have the same bottoms. So we take that 4 and 6, come over here, and go to the 4, and see if it has a 4 and a 6. Nope. Does the 3 have a 4 and a 6? Nope. Does the 2 have a 4 and a 6? I want you to try. I want you to try to reduce these numbers, okay? By doing the divisions of what is the same. Now, we have done this enough. I know you know how to do this. I do not want to see these not done. You can do it. You know, you showed me. And then remember that instead of an R, instead of a remainder, you're going to do the fraction. And you can do it. This one, you can do this. You know how to do that one. You know how to do that one. Remember your zeros. Plussing, same bottoms. Minusing, same bottoms. Plussing, same bottoms. Minusing, same bottoms. You got that down. Which one makes it the same? You got it. And you already know that one. So you got this. I want to see you try that. And then, of course, here's the tax. That one is the price tag with a tax. And this one is a total of 196 of her butterfly capes to 7 stores. Each store getting the same number. When you hear each getting the same means divide. Okay. Now, I'm going to read the story to you. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to read that story. Shiver and Quake. Here we go. Shiver and Quake. There once was a boy who lived with his father and mother. He was a dreamy lad, good-natured and kind, but not much help to his hard-working parents. He spent his days sitting in the corner and gazing into the fire or climbing trees to their highest branches and looking out into the far horizon. He was sorry to be a disappointment to his loved ones. What do you think disappointment means? It means maybe they don't think much of him, right? He disappointed them. But he could not hide the fact that he was different. One evening, when the family was gathered around the table eating their supper, a black cat with glowing green eyes bounded in through the window. Bounded, right? A black cat with glowing green, hissed strangely and then melted out the door. The father jumped up and shut the door. Just as quickly, the mother rushed to shut the window. "Oh," said the father, "that cat gave me a fright." "Yes," said the mother, "I have a shiver and quake in my bones." "What's this?" demanded the boy, who had not been at all bothered by the cat and continued to eat his supper with gusto. I mean, he was very excited about eating. "What does it mean to shiver and quake?" The father and mother looked sadly at one another. "Our poor boy," said the father. "He knows nothing of life and seems unable to learn. How will he ever make his way in the world?" The boy could tell that he had caused his parents sorrow in some way, and he wanted to mend it. "No," he said firmly, "I can learn, and I will learn. I will begin by learning how to shiver and quake." And so he put on his jacket and slung a small pack over his shoulder and set out down the road, determined to find out how to shiver and quake with the best of them. Soon enough, he saw an old man camped alongside the road. The old man had a small fire blazing, and the boy strolled right up to the fire and warmed his hands over the flames. "Good evening, sir. I thank you for allowing me to share your warm fire." Now, the old man was a robber, but he was amazed at the pluck of this young man. Pluck means that he was not afraid. He was, he had a lot of courage, I guess, who was so obviously unafraid, see? And he could rightly see that the boy was poor and had nothing worth stealing in any case. Curious, he asked the boy who he was and what he was doing. Gladly, the boy gave his name and told the old man about his mission, which is his, what he was going to go do, his adventure, if you would. The old robber smiled in the darkness. "I think I can assist you in learning to shiver and quake," he said. He told the boy to take the west road and walk until he saw an old house made of dark stones standing on a craggy hilltop. "The house is haunted," whispered the robber. "There you will surely learn what it is to shiver and quake." Because when they're saying shiver and quake, they're really talking about kind of being scared, right? Kind of what happens when you're scared. Kind of shake a little. So the boy set off, so he sent him off to a haunted house. That would make me shiver and quake. So the boy set off on the west road as he had been told, and he walked all the rest of the night and through the next day. Just as the sun was sinking low, the boy rounded a bend in the road and saw the house rising before him, outlined against the blood-red sky. "Why, here it is," said the boy to himself. "I hope I shall learn how to shiver and quake here as I have been promised." Cheerfully, he walked up the twisting path leading to the haunted house. Brambles and broken branches made the journey more difficult, but he paid them no mind. At last he reached the weed-covered yard that led to the front porch of the house. He pushed open the heavy door on its rusty hinges and entered the dim hall. All was silent, dusty, and covered with cobwebs. It seemed that no one had been here for many years. As the boy looked about in the gloom, which means kind of like a sad-looking place, he felt a cool hand touch his shoulder. He turned but could see no one. "Is someone here?" the boy asked easily. "Who are you?" A voice that seemed hollow and far away answered from the darkness. "Any man who can spend 3 nights in this place without running away in fear will break the spell that is cast upon this house. He shall be rewarded with 3 trunks of gold. But alas, though many have tried, all have failed. They shiver and quake, their hearts become faint, and then they flee." "I don't know how to shiver and quake," the boy told the voice. "I will pass the test, see if I don't, though I don't know what I shall do with 3 trunks of gold." "We shall see," said the hollow voice. Then all was silent. "Well, that was odd," said the boy, and he set to work to make himself a bit more comfortable. The boy found an old broom and swept the heaps of old ashes out of the grate. He searched about the house grounds and gathered some pieces of wood. He made a fire in the hearth. Then he cleaned off a wooden bench and drug it near the warmth. He pulled out his pocket knife and sat whittling a stick. When that was done, he stuck a piece of bread from his bag onto the end of the stick and toasted it over the roaring flames. "Ah, this is the life," thought the boy as he rested, dreaming into the flames. So I guess he just doesn't get scared easily. How would that be? Wow, look at this. Around midnight, as the boy dozed on the hard bench, there came a loud banging and clanging. The boy awoke at once and watched with interest as an enormous ogre with chains dangling from his massive legs — massive means look how huge they are — came shuffling and clanking into the chamber. Well, he's going to be clanky because of all the chains on him, right? Making a clanky noise. The ogre had wild red eyes and mossy green hair. A gigantic wooden club was grasped in his leathery fist. He made low growling sounds in his throat as he clambered across the stone floor. Clambering is just kind of clinking, just like the clanking is. "He means me harm," thought the boy, "but I can see that he is clumsy and slow. I know just how to fix him." So the boy got up from his bench and stood with his back toward the wide fireplace. "Come on, ogre," he said pleasantly. "Come and get me." The ogre shuffled forward, swinging the heavy club awkwardly above his head, because you know how it's so huge it might not be as smooth. It's awkward. Just as the ogre was about to bring the club down in a mighty blow, the boy jumped nimbly aside. The momentum of his swing carried the ogre into the fireplace, club and all. The ogre screamed and disappeared in a puff of acrid blue smoke. The club itself burned on through the night. The boy settled back on his bench and watched the bright blaze until his eyes grew heavy and he fell asleep. Wow, that was smart of him, right? He thought, well, he's kind of slow. I can outdo him. The next day passed quietly, and again night fell. Again the boy sat upon the bench, warming himself and toasting his bread. Suddenly, from the dark nooks and corners of the room, an army of tiny goblins emerged. Their voices were joined together in a chorus of shrill shrieks. So chorus means a group of them. A shrill is very, very high. The boy simply pulled some bits of rag from his pockets and stuffed his ears so that he could not hear the irksome noise. Irksome means just annoying. Then he continued to munch happily on his bread, so he's eating it. This infuriated the goblins, made him mad, who began to shriek more loudly. They ran up to the boy and began to pinch and poke at his legs with their sharp little fingers and claws. "Enough of this," thought the boy. He picked up the broom that was sitting nearby and quickly swept the pesky goblins into the fire, where they popped like popcorn. Tired from his efforts, the boy retired to his bench, where he slept soundly by the warm fire for the rest of the night. Well, that means he went 2 nights already. 2 different scary things. The next day passed quietly, and again night fell. I wonder if I shall learn to shiver and quake tonight, said the boy to himself. As darkness fell and he ate his bread by the crackling hearth, he heard a loud thumping on the front door. Come in, he yelled. A ghoul came cackling into the room. A fiendish-looking creature with black, empty eyes. He carried a black bag over his shoulder, from which he drew a set of 9 pins. The pins were made of large white bones, and the ball were made of human skulls. The ghoul peered over his shoulder at the boy, who was watching with interest. Would you like to play? Wheezed the ghoul in a raspy whisper. Wheezed like, in a raspy, like, choky. Why, yes, thank you, said the boy. It's been quite dull here with nothing much to do. I would love to play a game to pass the time. So they played for hours and hours, and the boy thought it quite good fun. As dawn's first gray light crept into the sky, the ghoul packed away his toys and slithered out the front door. And the boy stretched out on his bench and slept until the sun was bright in the sky and the birds were singing merrily. Well, he made it through 3 nights. He's going to get gold. When the boy at last opened his eyes, he sat up in astonishment. Everything seemed new and different. Instead of resting on a hard bench, he found himself in a snug bed covered with a warm quilt. Gone were the dust and cobwebs. Sun streamed through sparkling windows. The boy leapt from his bed and ran outside. The walls of the house rose straight and strong above his head. Fruit trees bloomed in the yard, and the crystal stream burbled down the hill. So I guess it was cursed and uncursed it. Oh my, said the boy aloud, what has come to pass here? Immediately the hollow voice spoke near his ear. You have broken the spell, laughed the voice, and now you will have your reward. 3 trunks of gold suddenly appeared at the boy's feet. He looked at the bright coins for a moment or two, then tightly closed the trunks and stacked them in the cellar. He spent the day climbing trees, listening to the birds, and watching fleecy clouds sail across a bright blue sky. After a few such jolly days had passed, the boy stuffed his bag with gold coins and set off for his parents' home. When he came whistling up the walk, his parents rushed out to meet him. Oh, my son, cried his mother, it is so good to see you. Have you learned to shiver and quake? No, mother, but I have found my way in the world. Look at this. And he opened the bag and spilled the gold coins into the hands of his astonished parents. And so it turned out that the boy never did learn to shiver and quake, but he did learn that courage brings a happy life. And so he thought no more about it. All right, now go back and see if you can answer these questions, okay? And I also am going to give you a new one about the vocabulary words, and I tried to help you through that, okay? So see if you can do. Make sure you listen carefully. And if you have to reread the story, then listen to this video again, okay? All right, bye. I'll see you at, no, I won't see you today. I'll see you at 10 o'clock this morning, but we won't do our tutoring till Thursday.